Hi guys, hello and welcome to Jazz Across the Pond. Jazz interviews reimagined, a brand new and a very exciting bringing together of two great nations. It's jazz talking like you've never seen or heard it before. Ladies and gentlemen, let's extend a welcome to my partner in crime all the way from the United States of America. He's waiting for us. So, a very good evening. There he is. As we said, he's there.
I was wondering if you were going to let me in or not. I mean,
so a very warm welcome to Jazz Across the Pond from me, Roger Lee, aka the Jazz Cat from the United Kingdom.
I'm glad you clarified that. I'm Kevin Goolsby from the United States, and they call me Mr. G.
Well, they call you Mr. G. And of course, the Jazz Cat, Mr. G. I would like to say that Mr. G, the Barney to my Fred.
Say again?
The Barney to my Fred.
Oh, I thought you said the Blarney to your Fred. I was getting ready to say. Okay, now I've got it. Now I've got where you're going. Took me a second, but you threw me off and said, damn English accent. All right, so I'm the Barney to your Fred.
Yeah, the Barney to my Fred.
I guess that's what I just said. I am the Barney to your Fred. Boy, I tell you, we're going to have an episode of the Flintstones right here. Well, I guess that's better than being the Betty to your Wilma.
Ah, yes, exactly. Yeah, I just filled the Flintstones. I mean, Barney and Fred, they were true man. Whatever happened to them, they remained very loyal and good friends, and they helped each other, even with Wilma and Dino the dinosaur and Pebbles the child. They remained very, very good friends and very loyal. And I see you. You're my friend. You're my best friend. We're always there for each other, my friend.
Well, thank you, Fred. I'm very pleased to hear that. You know what people don't know about that show is I find absolutely amazing.
What's that?
It was literally the very first animated series to go to prime time, and it was the most financially successful and the longest running network animated television series for 30 years.
Wow!
Because all the reruns.
Mm.
But not until The Simpsons came along, and then that was the end of that. But I mean, in 2013, TV Guide ranked the Flintstones as the second greatest TV cartoon of all time, after The Simpsons. Yeah. So again, being the I'll just say it this way: since Fred and Barney are best friends, I take that as a compliment, Jazz Cat.
Okay, talking about friends, we had a new friend last week join us on the show. The man himself, Mr. Ken Navarro. What an amazing interview. I know, we said to Ken, I mean, when he came out last year with his 25th album, Into the Light, I played this one to death on my radio show, and I thought, do you know what? 25 albums out, he's not going to surpass that one. And do you know what? He blew it. He has done, hasn't it? It's like, I will still be here. And I'll tell you something, what a great album and that. So who am I to know? But it was a wonderful interview and great to get him on to join us here on the show.
Yeah, well, you know, it's pretty amazing. You sit back and look at his body of work. I mean, you know, we've learned a lot of amazing things about our current guest that we have today coming up. But there's some similarities in terms of Ken Navarro and how he got off to a quick start versus our guest. It's the exact same story. It's an amazing start and it's understandable. They're both brilliant.
Yeah. Yep. Anyway, so that interview is available on YouTube along with a catalogue, a plethora, if I may use that word, of interviews. They're all there to be watched, and there's some fabulous ones.
Cornucopia.
We sound like
plenty.
So tonight's it's a very special guest, and I'm just glancing up now, and he's literally in the green room. He's there waiting, and this is an interview like all our interviews. We contacted him. He went, well, I'm a bit busy, and, you know, I'm actually doing a 3-night gig with Earl Clue. We're like, Earl Clue? Okay. And he went, I'll be back in California from Denver, Colorado. I'll be back in California before I fly somewhere else. Yeah, okay, guys, I'd love to be on your show. And that. So we're thrilled to have him. And we don't want to keep him in the green room any longer because he'll be off to take another flight in a minute and go again. So tonight's very special guest is the one, the only, Mr. Adam Hawley. He's got 3 albums, and the word is apparently there's a fourth album in the making, but we'll find more about that during the interview. But the track we're going to play is from the album Escape. And we're going to start the interview while we bring him in with a track called To the Top, featuring the wonderful Jeff Ryan. And so stay tuned with us. Adam Hawley is there. He's there. He's waiting. Let's listen to this track. Back with you in a moment.
Hi, this is guitarist Adam Hawley from Los Angeles, and you're watching me on Jazz Across the Pond with the Jazz Cat and Mr. G. Hope you enjoy.
Well, we have just been listening to the most amazing track. It's from an album called Escape. It's the third album from our very special guest tonight. The track was called To the Top, featuring the wonderful Jeff Ryan. What can we say about this week's very, very special guest? A multi-talented American jazz guitarist. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please join us on Jazz Across the Pond, where we extend a very, very warm welcome all the way from the lovely California. It's the man himself, Mr. Adam Hawley. Hi, welcome along.
Woohoo!
Oh, thank you so much for having me, and I'll pay you later for that glowing introduction. You're too kind.
Oh, God. Woo. This is not pay to play. Come on.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, we've got a lot to discuss, and I know you've been a very busy man, and that you just come back from tour, and that, which to hear the fact that we've got artists going back on tour, you know, I mean, the last 18 months it's just been like, what happened there? So it's great to hear you back on tour, and it's fabulous. Anyway, Adam, our researchers on both sides of the pond have done a sterling job this week, compiling all the information about your good self. Born and raised in Portland, Oregon. At the young age, you developed a very keen interest in music, taking up the piano at the age of 8, and then transferring to the guitar a year later. You eventually attended the University of Southern California, where you graduated with a PhD in music. Adam, would you please tell our followers more about your childhood, your introduction to music? Did you come from a musical family? And who were your musical influences?
Yeah, of course. No, it's my pleasure. You know, I did not come from a musical family. My parents, they don't play music. They don't sing. They don't listen to a ton of music either. More so talk radio. But I did find their vinyl record collection and dusted it off, and that's what started everything. You know, it was just magical, just putting the needle on the vinyl and finding their records. They had a lot of great 70s and 80s LPs, Earth, Wind and Fire, Brothers Johnson, and back then cassettes were really big. They had all of these Time Life. It was like years of oldies, the 60s, 60, 61, 62, 63. So all sorts of stuff in there. Beatles, Everly Brothers, Elvis. So that's somewhere in there. I heard the guitar, and that spoke to me. And I have to credit my mother, though. She forced me to take the piano. She said she made a deal with me. If I play piano for a year, I can play the guitar. And I think she was hoping I wouldn't stick with it, you know, sex, drugs, rock and roll, etc. And but I did, and I'm so glad she made me play the piano. I actually play more piano now than guitar because I spend so much time not only obviously working on my records. My 4th is just about to come out. But I do a lot of production for a lot of artists as well. And so a lot of piano nowadays, which has been great. And in terms of touring, I started touring very early. I think I was 12 or 13, and I was in a bluegrass band touring all around Oregon and Washington, which is the Pacific Northwest of the United States. And we were playing every weekend out on the road, which was great. Later on, I had a blues rock band in high school. We also toured all over the Pacific Northwest. And but the thing that changed everything is the drummer in that band made a mixtape for me. At that time, it was a mixed CDR, and Breezin' was on there by George Benson. Ooh. And that was the beginning of me starting to think about, man, contemporary jazz, this is awesome. That track just sounded killer. It sent me down that road of discovering Benson and Norman Brown, and I was already into straight ahead jazz, learning transcribing Wes Montgomery and Joe Pass and Metheny, and the list goes on. And so that's what got me kind of thinking about it. And you mentioned USC, and that was a big turning point, moving to Los Angeles in 2002. I don't have to tell you guys, being in a big scene is paramount to making anything happen. You got to be around people like-minded people doing what you want to be doing. And so, yeah, it's almost 20 years now since I moved here. It's 19 years, almost to the day, and went to school. And what the great thing about going to school in LA is I was able to, work on my scene and work on my contacts, and started gigging very early, and then eventually started touring in 2008. My first gig was the Manhattan Transfer. And so I toured with them for 4 years. And I won't bore you guys. Toured with a bunch of different people: Jennifer Lopez, Backstreet Boys, Layla Hathaway, Natalie Cole. So anyways, those are my beginnings, and eventually decided to make a record. But that's how I kind of got going.
Brilliant. Kevin.
Well, obviously, Adam, what happened was, as a young person growing up and having invaded your parents' collection of vinyl, set you up well, because obviously being a session player fairly early in life, you're right, gave you an opportunity to network, develop the scene, meet people. It's pretty evident because when we look at your first 3 projects, the guest artist you have is mind-blowing. But we'll come back to that. Roger had just kind of alluded to the fact that you had just returned from performing at the legendary Earl Clues Weekend of Jazz concert series. Yeah. This particular one was at Colorado Springs at the Broadmoor. Earl, for those that don't know it, Earl has a concert series that takes place at Forbes 5-star and AAA 5-diamond destinations across the country. So it's not a bad gig if you can get it. So, but if you would, Adam, share with our viewers more about this concert. What was that experience like? And how have the logistics, not necessarily of presenting a show, but how did your logistics have to change given that we're dealing with the pandemic?
Yeah, 100%. Well, yeah, we had so much fun. We flew up there Friday. It's not too bad. From LA, it's a 2-hour flight, and then into Denver, and then about an hour, 40-minute drive to the Broadmoor. But yeah, gorgeous location, gorgeous hotel. The show was so much fun. So yeah, definitely shout out to Earl and his lovely wife Denise for hosting me. This is my second time doing one of their events. I did the one on the other side of the country, Kiowa Island. I did that in 2018. That was also a lot of fun. And so yeah, we had a fantastic show. We did the late night show. They had stellar lineup. On the day I played was Jeffrey Osborne and Boney James, and then I did the late night show. It was a lot of fun. To answer your question about logistics, it has been challenging. I actually lost 2 band members within a few days of the show. Had to find a couple other guys that were already there at the festival, which ended up working out fantastic. Had a great show. Last week, I lost a couple people last minute. Last week, I had 6 shows in 5 days, if you can believe that. I did.
Is that physically possible, Adam? Come on.
I know. I started off near Milwaukee in Racine, a gorgeous amphitheater. Lost my bass player with 2 days' notice, but had a fantastic guy come in and sit in. Then I did Rochester, New York, Elmira, New York. It got crazy in Norfolk. We were playing at the arena. It's called the Scope Center in Norfolk. That morning, my keyboard player called me, said he couldn't make it. And so we had to find somebody with 10 hours notice for the Norfolk Waterfront Jazz Festival. But we found somebody who lived in Norfolk. He was incredible. And so yeah, it's been a bit of a juggling act, but I feel so fortunate. As you guys mentioned a few minutes ago, 18 months of no shows. Now I've had 3 that have been canceled / postponed to next year, but everything else has been sticking on the schedule. So I'm going to have about 40 this year, and very excited about it. I'm just about to head out again. Let's see, today's Monday. Thursday, I fly out and play Pensacola Friday, Tulsa, Oklahoma Saturday, and Charleston, South Carolina Sunday. So, very excited to get out there, and I've got my new project, got it printed and selling those at the show, and excited to do the new music. So, so yeah, definitely I feel fortunate to be on the I can't say we're on the other side of things because there's still a lot of craziness going on with the pandemic, but excited to at least being able to go out and tour for sure.
Well, the thing is, the interesting thing is because we spoke to, we've had Paul Brown on recently, we've had Brian Bromberg on a few weeks ago, and Brian has said he hasn't been out of his house in 18 months, and yet he's released the most amazing album. And of course, and a lot of the listeners don't appreciate the logistics of trying to get musicians from all around the world to record it, and it gets, and they're just missing touring. And this is one of the reasons why we've created this show here, because it gives all the followers a chance to see you on screen because they're going, there's Adam, and so it's a great way to see that. Anyway, 7 #1 hits, 52 days, but you just said a match of 42 days. Adam's first 2 albums stormed the charts, unprecedented. I mean, they were great albums, Double Vision and Just the Beginning. 2 great.
You got them right there. All right.
Look at that. You see, we're good. They don't call it the jazz cut for no reason, I tell you.
Right.
So they're great. They're actually within my section back here, and so they're there.
Oh.
And I know Kevin features them on Jazz Across the Pond. I know I feature them on my Jazz Mood show in the United Kingdom, and I know when I feature them on the my own show, the amount of positive feedback, people go, "Wow!" And it's as Kevin's alluded to, the lineup of musicians. It's like the who's who of the jazz world. There.
Oh.
Now, the album we're talking about is Escape. Yeah, there it is again. There's again. Fun enough, I'm looking around. I can't find you a new album anywhere, but never mind. We'll talk about that later on.
I got you. I will send it out.
Kevin, was that subtle or what?
By your standards, yes.
You put the B in subtle. So
so Escape, brilliant. My question to yourself, though, we're finally going to get around to good. How do you feel? Because we obviously haven't heard the 4th album yet, but how do you feel that the Escape album has changed from the 2 previous albums? How do you think? Do you feel the Double Vision and Just the Beginning? How have things evolved for yourself?
Well, that record, I definitely went Escape. I definitely went for some kind of darker, kind of moodier vibes and stripped things back a little bit. I did some simpler production techniques. A lot more of the tracks are just a rhythm section and then me and maybe just a few synths. I had done kind of some bigger productions on the previous record. So I was really proud of Escape, and it's kind of crazy. It came out, I believe the date was February 28th, but regardless, it was the end of February. And it was the #1 selling album in the US. So that was, I felt super fortunate for that people were digging the music, responding to it. You played earlier To the Top, that ended up being Song of the Year in 2020, which means it was the most played song in the format in the US for all of 2020. So definitely really humbled by that as well. And the title track was a #1 tune as well, featuring Rick Braun. So yeah, you mentioned the special guests. I feel super fortunate. Some of them I met in my prior career as a guitarist to all of these incredible artists. I met them playing in their band and said, hey, do you mind playing on my record? And then some of them, met them on the road over the years. Jeff Ryan, he was nice enough to play for me up in Sacramento in Northern California. And he just sounded incredible. And so in my mind, I was like, okay, I got to get him on a track at some point. And he just did an amazing job with To the Top. And then the most recent single, I had a lot of fun putting that out. I was surprised that my radio promoter picked it. Shout out to Jason Goroff. He's been with me since the beginning. But he picked Tokyo Groove, which is a song I wrote many years ago. I was on the road with Dave Koz in Tokyo and wrote that in my hotel room. And it's kind of a fusion-y tune. There's a lot going on. So it's kind of fun to have that be a radio single. I didn't expect it, but it also did well. So yeah, but to answer your question, I try to do something different with every record. Do a different vibe and new production techniques. Mix it up with different special guests. I always like to carve out a portion for my lovely wife to sing, and just try to keep stretching, keep writing new music. With this record that's about to come out, Rising Up, I wrote 50 songs and picked the best 10.
Wow.
And it wasn't the best 10 like individually, like this is a great song, this is a great song. It was the best 10 that went together and made a cohesive project, because that's really important to me. I want people to be able to put it on at track 1 and go all the way through. They don't feel like they have to skip, oh, that's a filler. Yeah. It's really important to me, and a lot of fans respond and without me prompting them will say, oh man, love every track. I don't have to worry about it. I just hit play and we're good to go. And so yeah, I have a lot of fun with it, just the writing process and just trying new things.
Okay, well, with the wonderful technology world we live in, we're actually going to take a very, very quick break from you, and we're going to play Tokyo Groove for our listeners and our followers. We just felt it was just so apt to put this actual track on, and then people could, because I mean, you're a massive fan of the United States of America and that. In the UK, we're trying desperately to get you, so people learn more about yourself. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a very short intermission break now from this wonderful interview with Adam Hawley. The album's called Escape. This next track is called Tokyo Groove. We'll be back to you momentarily to carry on this wonderful interview. Stay with us.
Welcome back to Jazz Across the Pond, Jazz Interviews Reimagined with the Jazz Cat and Mr. G. You've been listening to Tokyo Groove from Adam Hawley's latest project, which I might add is absolutely crushing the charts.
Oh.
So Adam, in August of 2015, you signed with Kalimba Music, founded by Maurice White of Earth, Wind and Fire, and you released your debut project just the beginning the following year in 2016. Now, Roger has already mentioned some of the amazing artists that you've had not only on your first project, but obviously all three at this point. The project is so successful that you're selected as the 2016 Debut Artist of the Year by two organizations, the Smooth Jazz News and Jazz Tracks Radio. Not only that, but you finished the year with 35th Street, one of your songs featuring Eric Darius, which picked up the #3 spot on Billboard's 2016 year-ending Smooth Jazz Song Chart. Not only that, but you had two additional songs from that project that were picked up on Billboard's Top 50 for 2017. So that's pretty amazing. Your second project was no different, Double Vision. Again, an incredible number of guest artists that are mind-blowing. This time around, you picked up Darren Ron, Dave Cause. We haven't talked about Jeff Lorber. That was Jeff Ryan. Julian Vaughn, Marcus Anderson, and we keep talking about this cat Hawley.
Yeah.
She seems to be on all your projects, as it turns out. We'll have to ask you a little more about that. And that project picked up Billboard's 2018 year-ending song, the 12th song, and the 45th song. The 12th song being Can You Feel It? And the 45th song being Traveling Mood. So having said all of that, it's pretty amazing that a project that was just released at the beginning of, actually, I guess it was a pre-release that got you the 2020 Song of the Year, correct? That would have been a pre-release from your current project?
No, so for 2020, it was To the Top, which was the first single off of Escape. And that ended up being the #1 song for all of 2020.
Correct. Very good. Okay. If you would share with our readers, explain to them about how is it possible for a particular project to pick up two spots on two different year-ending charts?
Oh, yes. Well, everyone's radio campaigns are different, but a lot of us will do 2 singles a year. A single tends to last roughly around 6 months, give or take a month or two, you know, so it might be a little shorter, might be a little bit longer. So usually there's time I'll usually come out early in the year, February. So typically another one will come out in August or September.
Right.
The one that comes out earlier in the year will typically be higher, just because, you know, they have to pick a definitive beginning and end, which in this case is the calendar year. So any song that comes out in the fall will usually not be as high, just because a lot of its spins will then spill into the next year, you know.
Right.
But
I had a lot of people that ask that question about, well, why is it? Like, I'll give you an example. 2016, just the beginning, you had the #3 song on the 216 chart, but it picked up the #4 and #49 songs for the 2017 chart.
Right.
Same thing happened with Double Vision. So you had the #12 song for the year ending 2018, the #45 for year ending 2018, and in 2019, it carried over and you had the #8 song with Just Dance. So it's amazing how, and I know there's a formula that, you know, everybody that's doing producing your work and trying to get, released, they're all looking for a way to be able to get as many songs in that rotation to take advantage of these playlists. So congratulations on having projects that managed to show up on year-ending charts twice. Roger?
Yep. I was going to say, now, for our regular followers know that I'm, apart from being the jazz card, I'm a mind of uses information. And I'm going to prove again now with, of course, you signed for Kalimba. Kalimba, of course, is the late Morris White of Earth, Wind and Fire, the founder of Morris White. Earth, Wind and Fire were originally called Salty Pepper before they were called Earth, Wind and Fire. Well, we established that a few weeks ago. But the Kalimba is a thumb piano. And it was back in the 1960s. He found it, brought it back over from Africa, whilst he was a drummer with Ramsey Lewis. A lot of people go,
exactly, yeah.
So a mind of uses information. There you are. So but the credentials to be signed up to Kalimba. I mean, half these CDs on that label. So we take your hat off to that. Kevin, I know you want to drop in with a question now, please.
Yeah, I also wanted to know, Adam, Roger's mentioned that you have a doctorate in music art degrees from the University of Southern California. We also discovered that you're teaching at multiple institutions right now. And while I was classically trained in 2 musical instruments. I wouldn't even come close to trying to teach anybody, but I can relate to that as a soccer coach and a player. I've always had people say, well, what do you enjoy more, Kevin? Do you enjoy playing or do you like coaching the youngsters? So my question to you, what brings you the greater joy, performing or teaching?
Oh gosh, well, I'm not trying to be diplomatic, but I really enjoy both, and I don't see them as some people are like, oh, teaching is my fallback or whatever. I never looked at it like that. Like I always planned on having both being a part of my career, and it still is to this day. Even though I'm doing a lot of touring, a lot of producing, I still teach 1 day a week down in Orange County at Saddleback College, and over the years I've been at 4 different colleges total. But right now I'm really enjoying being there. I've got some incredible students. I teach an ensemble, which is all of the instruments of the rhythm section: drums, keyboards, bass, guitar. We have vocalists. But then I also teach several private students as well. And so I have a lot of fun with it. I mean, I've got former students. One of my former students, Mateus Asado, I taught him for 1 semester at Musicians Institute in Hollywood. And he went on to then tour with Demi Lovato, Tori Kelly, and he just got the gig with Bruno Mars. So nice. I can't take a ton of credit. I only was his instructor for 1 semester, but that's just an example of I've had some incredible students that have gone on to do some really amazing things. So it's definitely rewarding. No question.
But that one semester is what pushed him over the top.
See, I need to send in another invoice or I need to get a percentage of this Bruno Mars tour.
Right.
May I compliment you on the diplomatic political answer you gave there? You actually was a wonderful answer. That was wonderful.
But it's true, actually. Right when I get done talking with you, distinguished gentlemen, I'm going to go teach. I have a class to teach today. I'm going to drive down there, and then Tuesday and Wednesday, I'll be doing production, mixing. Thursday, I'll fly, as I mentioned, and do my run this weekend. So I enjoy all of it. It's a blast.
So, Adam, you've also, apart from being an incredible guitarist, you've also appeared on a lot of artists. We've mentioned this already numerously. The Dave Cos, Jennifer Lewis, Brian Culberson, the late Natalie Cole, bless her. And just to mention just a few. Now, my question to yourself is, can you remember the first time where you were and what you were doing when you, on the radio, heard one of your songs played? A lot of our listeners love this question.
Well, the first time I ever heard myself on the radio, it was on Rick Braun's album, Can You Feel It? And I played on about half of the album, six songs. Mm-hmm. And I think it was Get Up and Dance was the track, which was a big song, featured Dave Koz. So that was definitely thrilling. Heard that here in LA. But the very first time I heard myself was on Dave Koz's show. He does every Sunday on satellite radio, Sirius XM. Mm-hmm. He does the Dave Koz show every Sunday morning. And that was when I first heard 35th Street. So that would have been February of 2016. And yeah, it was definitely a thrill. You never, obviously you plan for success and you hope for the best, but I never thought when I moved to LA in 2002, I would sign with Kalimba and then end up on the radio. And then it's one thing to get airplay and make some noise, but right out of the gate, my very first single was #1 for 5 weeks. And you can't ask for a better debut. And then we've just been kind of rolling ever since. So definitely very grateful.
So picking up on that then, I mean, it's amazing and full credit to yourself and that, and well deserved. You know, they're your first single. Yeah, and a lot of people would dream of that. What advice would you give? You're a teacher. What advice would you give an up-and-coming person who's got aspirations to follow in your footsteps? What advice would you give them? I mean, get COVID out of the way and that. We're in a normal world, whatever normal looks like now. What advice would you give them now?
Yeah, well, it's different now than when even though, my first record came out now, 6 years ago, but definitely social media is everything. It's huge. And so definitely having a strong presence on there and figuring out a way to do something unique. I do a weekly Facebook show every Wednesday. Unfortunately, it's the middle of the night for anyone in the UK, although we do have some people that stay up every Wednesday and watch from the UK, believe it or not. But, just finding a way to have a signature brand on social media just to get awareness out, putting, new music up, keeping in touch is huge. But I'm a firm believer you make your own luck. You'll hear a lot of people kind of bemoan, oh, it's all political, it's who you know. And I would say, yes, both of those things are true. But if you do good work and really put your best foot forward and just sound incredible every time you head out, whether it's a gig or it's on social media or you release music. And then I mentioned it earlier, being around like-minded people that are doing what you want to do. And it may be location-based. You may have to pick up and move. I had to do that. Fortunately, from Oregon to Los Angeles, it's not super crazy. It's 1,000 miles. It's a 2-hour flight. So I didn't have to change countries or something, but still, it was a leap of faith. I had a lot of people that I grew up around saying, really, you're moving to California? Why? What if you fail? But for me, that wasn't really a thought. It was like, this is where I need to go to make this happen. But yeah, you make your own luck, so if you want to get into country music, well, if you're in, if you live in Mexico, you probably need to move to Nashville or wherever you live.
Yeah.
You got to get to Nashville to make it happen, so that's kind of part of it. If you're just, playing in your room by yourself and no one hears you, not much is going to happen. So I really took that to heart. And even when I was playing guitar for other people, I would really make an effort to just sound as incredible, help them with their artistic vision, make sure they sound great. Because it comes back around. As you mentioned, all those incredible artists that were willing to play on my project was definitely a result of me taking their gig really seriously. So that's huge as well.
Well, before Kevin asked the last question from himself, I'd like to say that, so those years ago when you picked up the wonderful George Benson Breeze album and you were inspired, all the rest of it, there must be lots of youngsters now who will pick up Escape and will have those same feelings. Will turn around and go, I want to aspire to be like this man. Absolutely.
You're too kind.
Kevin, last question.
Well, those young people might go, who the heck is George Benson?
Oh, no. Never.
They may not know who he is initially, but once they listen to him, they'll know why.
Yeah.
All right, Adam, normally Roger's the one that asks the real cheeky question. So I guess this week it'll be my turn since he's restrained himself a little bit. So now you've mentioned talking about working on your next project. We know you've got guest artists. We also know that between now and the end of the year, you're probably going to be recording with someone as one of their guest artists. So we're going to put you on the spot. Who do you have coming up on your new project? You don't have to divulge everything, but maybe drop 1 or 2 names of artists that are going to be on your new project. And then also, whose projects are you going to be appearing on?
Yes, well, I think I have, let's see. Oh, there we go. I just got copies a few days ago.
Whoa.
It's called, let me see if I can get it to focus here. It's called Rising Up. Yep. And it officially releases September 10th. But if anyone wants a copy, I have advanced copies. Obviously, you can order them through my website, adamhawley.com. And I have some distinguished guests on here. I have Steve Cole on saxophone.
Yes.
Julian Vaughn is back for a second time. Sounds incredible.
Okay.
For the first time, Vincent Ingala has agreed to come on the record. Very excited about that. Incredible saxophonist from Cleveland, Riley Richard, who's been getting a ton of airplay. And of course, Kat Hawley is on here again.
You know what?
And
all of those artists are friends of mine on Facebook, including Kat Hawley.
There we go. So yes, I'm very excited. And the first single came out. It's still very new. It came out 2 weeks ago, yeah. Rising Up. But we're off to a blazing start. It was #1 most added and the #1 spin crease. So just feel super fortunate. And as you can see, talking about going different directions compared to Escape was like the moody,
dark.
This is the opposite. Rising Up, lots of light, lots of
post-pandemic.
Exactly, lots of good vibes. And so I'm super proud of it. And hope all of you watching out there will check it out. And the new single is the title track, Rising Up. And so that's the new project. In terms of what I'm appearing on, as I mentioned, I'm doing a lot of production. So I just finished producing and mixing a track for an incredible guitarist, Richard Smith. He's my former instructor at USC, but also an incredible artist, has had a ton of hits over the years. And this new track features Richard Elliott. So it was a lot of fun to work with Richard. And it comes out very soon. It comes out, I think, in the middle of September. So look for that. I played a bit on it, of course. I played some keyboards and rhythm guitars, but that track is all about the Richards. So yeah, that's the one coming up right away that I'm pretty excited about. So look for that mid-September.
Well,
thank you
unfortunately,
for that.
Lady Luck is just about to run out, and it's a great show because we've got to carry on this interview. I know the listeners of Jazz Moods, my radio show here, will be very, very keen to hear tracks of that album. Subtle hint. And ladies and gentlemen, it has been a great pleasure of ours here on Jazz Across Band to have a word with this amazing man. Get into this. 3 albums out at the moment. Get all 3 of them. There's not one. Pick all 3 of them. From everybody here on Jazz Across the Pond, thank you so much, Adam, for taking time out to join us. Tour dates are there. We know where you can get your record, where you can buy your albums, download or purchase them and that. Absolutely. Adam, thank you so much for taking time to talk to us.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Say goodnight, Kevin.
Good night, Kevin.
And it's good night from me. Good night from Adam Hawley. Good night from Jazz Across the Pond. Back again with another interview next week. From everybody here, take care. Look after yourself. Good night.